Dean Cox. Nic Nat. Two completely different ruckmen. Dean Cox, the master technician, the man who redefined the position, versus Nic Nat, the human highlight reel, one of the most electrifying athletes the game has ever seen. Today we're asking the big question: who was the greatest ruckman in West Coast Eagles history? Dean Cox or Nic Nat? Let's start with Dean Cox. Drafted as a rookie in 2000, by the time he retired in 2014, he wasn't just West Coast's greatest ruckman, he had become one of the greatest in AFL history. Cox played 290 games, kicked 169 goals, and made 6 All-Australian teams. He also won a flag in 2006, a captain, and one of the most reliable leaders the club has ever had. But it wasn't just about numbers. Cox changed what it meant to be a ruckman. Before him, most big men were stoppage specialists: tap, tackle, rest forward. But Cox had the endurance of a midfielder. He would push up and down the ground, rack up disposals, take intercept marks, and hit targets by foot. Averaging around 17 touches a game across his career, he played like an extra on-baller at 204 centimeters. Ask any midfielder from that era, guys like Ben Cousins, Chris Judd, Daniel Kerr, they'll tell you Cox wasn't just feeding them the ball, he was linking up play like a fourth midfielder. He was a game changer in every sense. Now let's move to Nic Nat. If Dean Cox was about endurance and consistency, Nic Nat was about explosiveness and sheer dominance. Drafted with pick 2 in 2008, Nat was a walking highlight reel from the moment he stepped onto the ground. At 201 centimeters, his leap was unmatched. He could jump over opponents, smash packs, and in one tap completely flip a center clearance. Nat wasn't just a ruckman, he was a momentum shifter. One contest, one hit out to advantage, one freakish tackle or goal, and suddenly the stadium was rocking. Over his 213 games, Nic Nat won 2 All-Australian jumpers, a best and fairest in 2020, and was widely regarded as the best pure tap ruckman of his generation. But his career came with heartbreak. Repeated ACL injuries robbed him of his prime. We never got to see what a full, uninterrupted career could have looked like. Still, even in shortened bursts, he was one of the most feared and respected ruckmen in the AFL. When Nic Nat was on the field, opposition coaches had to change their entire game plan. So, how do we weigh them up? Dean Cox: consistency, longevity, premiership success, leadership. He defined a generation of ruckmen and set the standard for the modern era. Nic Nat: impact, highlights, explosiveness. At his peak, no ruckman in the game could match his influence at the stoppages. Cox gave you 14 years of dominance. Nic Nat gave you moments of magic that fans will never forget. In the end, when you weigh it all up, the answer is clear. As freakish and spectacular as Nic Nat was, Dean Cox was the better all-round player. He could ruck, he could run, he could mark, he could kick, and he did it all for nearly 300 games. Cox wasn't just West Coast's greatest ruckman, he's one of the greatest ruckmen the AFL has ever seen. Nic Nat may have been the highlight machine, but Cox was the complete package. The verdict? Dean Cox is the greatest ruckman in West Coast Eagles history.